once we start talking. Cool. Yeah. Hello, my name is Evan Young.
And I'm Obuz.
And we are Project Dharavi, a nonprofit social venture that aims to tackle the problem of open defecation as a result of inadequate sanitation options. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Sanitation is more important than independence." But how can something like toilets, those tiny porcelain receptacles we sit on every day and see as so mundane and inconsequential, be more important than freedom, liberation, and empowerment? When you live in fear of going to a public toilet like so many women and children do, when you know you are left with no other option but to bathe and clean your clothes in the water that you and your neighbors have defecated in, and when you see the human impact that inadequate sanitation has made, the gravity of its oppression becomes clear. As two undergraduate college students at the George Washington University, my partner and I have never been faced with this reality. But like independence, we believe that access to sanitation and the ability to live one's life to the fullest extent is a universal and fundamental right. And that's why it is our vision to provide a toilet to every household. With 130 million households lacking toilets in India, the country has become the world's largest battleground for sanitation. In 2014, Prime Minister Modi announced the Clean India campaign with the express goal of getting 111 million toilets into these households, highlighting the growing consciousness about the need for action. However, places like Dharavi, a slum in the shadows of Mumbai's rising skyscrapers, are left by the wayside. With one toilet for every 1,440 people, Dharavi represents the epicenter of the sanitation crisis for urban slums. Its nearly 1 million residents are left with the option to use poorly kept, overcrowded, and potentially dangerous public toilets or to defecate in the open. The choice for the latter has played a large role in the nearly 4,000 cases of easily preventable waterborne disease reported every single day, a statistic we find not only disheartening, but unacceptable.
Now, you probably wonder, why don't they just have a flush toilet in every household? Well, due to the lack of infrastructure, it's just not possible, leaving a waterless toilet as the only option. Currently, the ones that exist range from $36 to $130, but they're flimsy, not meant for everyday use, and quite simply are not applicable to parts of the world that use the squat toilet, a mass majority of the 2.5 billion people who lack adequate sanitation options. And that is why we created a squat toilet that can be brought into the Dharavi household as a permanent fixture, restoring both privacy and dignity. Our toilet has two components, the outer squat toilet portion and an inner 8.6-gallon receptacle for waste and urine. With an airtight seal at top, odor would not even be a problem. The whole structure is made out of high-density polyethylene, a durable and affordable material that can be easily manufactured in the Mumbai region. So inexpensive, in fact, that the whole outer structure and two inner waste receptacles cost only $30 US. But before we go any further, let's talk about how we got here. As a biological anthropology major and as an international development major, as we saw these statistics, we were not only disheartened, but worried about the lack of a viable solution. And that is why we went on a journey to see if there was any difference we could make.
After some research, we enlisted the help of two mechanical engineers who were also interested in this issue, Akash Dhruv and Prem Wells. After some prototyping and ideation, we now have this product, which is our first prototype, built out of plywood. We have also had the support of our board of advisors with diverse experience ranging from social entrepreneurship to public health and international development. With the support of our team, we have had crucial pivots that we've made and crucial improvements. We have also been to the finals of the resolution project at CGIU. Recently, our work has begun to gain traction. Last week, we were announced as the winner of the D Prize grant, a competition which supports innovative approaches to public health needs. They have given us our first $5,000 in funding, which we will use to go to Dharavi this summer, not only to field test our assumptions, but to find our Dharavi-based team. This team will be essential in managing day-to-day operations, ensuring the local ownership of the process and the continued success after our September launch. This will also free up resources for our American-based team to engage with international organizations and grant makers.
Now, we understand that the toilet is only a small part in a wider system. So, surrounding it, we have used this toilet as a bridge to connect the waste from the household with the booming biogas industry. At the center is our location in Dharavi, a readily accessible and rentable structure already existing, it will be the base for our operations. Not only the home of our locally based staff, but also the home of partnering NGOs where they can give out their health and sanitation services to the community. So the day-to-day interactions between the household and the community hub will exist as such. We will give the household one of these outer structures and 2 inner waste receptacles for free because that goes with our vision. When they fill up the 2 receptacles, they will come to our location at the community hub and let us know of this, at which point within the day, our local staff will go to the household with 2 new clean ones, give it to the family, and at which point on readily accessible hand trucks, we'll cart them back to the community hub. At which point, they will pour the waste out into a larger septic tank and then prepare them for reuse. And it is this constant interaction between the household and the community hub that will allow us to make pivots once on the ground to best serve the community. These are the financials behind it. We estimate that it will cost $5,000 to rent this structure for the whole year, and we will be paying our locally based employees $200 a month, a very good wage for the area.
The waste that is collected at our community hubs will centralize the organic material that we will then sell to biogas companies, making us a vital feedstock supplier. Right now, one of the biggest obstacles for biogas companies has been the collection of waste, especially in areas like Dharavi, where the informality and high density of settlements has made entire communities unreachable. In this way, we will function as an important bridge. Project Dharavi also comes at a time of exponential growth in the world biogas market because it is inexpensive, easily scalable, and unlike other techniques, does not release any toxins into the area. Through the creation of methane gas, it is able to generate energy as well as nutrient-rich fertilizer. While there does not exist adequate market research for the price we could sell waste at in this region, through talks with Our Soil, the CEO of Our Soil, an NGO that turns waste into compost in Haiti, we estimate that we could sell 15 gallons of waste for $2.25. Out of this, 1/3 of the price this waste is sold for will go immediately back to the families, while the other 2/3 will go to maintaining and expanding our operations. By turning waste, commonly seen as a burden and a source of contamination and disease, into a viable economic product, Project Dharavi will aim to redefine waste. In doing so, we will also bring numerous other benefits to the community. For example, by reducing the rates of waterborne disease, we will reduce absenteeism at school and the myriad of ways poor sanitation affects the health of the individual. By employing local staff, we will not only be creating jobs, but we will be making the system endogenous. And by bringing the toilet into the home, we will restore the privacy, safety, and dignity that we all take for granted.
Now, let's talk about the financials. Being that we are a nonprofit organization, we will have to apply for grants and, in addition, crowdfund to generate a revenue. Having won the D prize, we are currently applying to the E-Team program, which has the potential of giving us $75,000 over the next year. We also believe that we can carry out crowdfunding campaigns similar to those of Charity Water. We hold a very similar philosophy that partners are not just these larger organizations, but individuals that want to make a difference. At which point, we will split the money in 2 ways. The grants will go towards the organizational costs and expanding to new areas, while the crowdfunding will go to on-the-ground activities, such as giving out the toilets in the community hubs. It is this on-ground interaction that will allow the donors to feel like they are personally making a difference. We understand that to be successful, though, we must partner with organizations that already understand the dynamics of the area. Here are 2 such examples. Since the CGIU conference, we have been in contact with Nasir Uden, the president of Empower Energy Group, and he wants to implement our system in his sites in Nicaragua, India, and Bangladesh. Another one is Sulab International. Having worked in biogas technology over the past 40 years, being able to access these plants will be key to our overall success. Through Engineers Next Door, an NGO that we have been in constant contact with, we will be able to gain access to Sulab's technology. The greatest potential partner, though, is the government of India. Currently, under the Clean India Act, they are giving an 80% subsidy to the implementation of toilets in every household, the ones that are currently 5 times more expensive than the one we have here. Now, if the government is able to fund our toilets, we will be able to scale up at a much quicker rate.
This possibility, as well as the partners we will work with and the grants we will receive, will allow us to achieve our goal of creating 2,000 toilets by the third year, created and positively impacting families. For a full-scale immediate launch, Project Dharavi would need $200,000 in funding, but would be able to start production and field testing of its system on a much smaller scale with significantly less money. For example, the $35,000 from the GW business plan competition would allow us to create 400 toilets, as well as covering the organizational and legal costs of starting an organization, as well as the creation of our first community hub. While only benefiting approximately 50 families at first, we expect scale to be catalytic as profit is generated and connections are forged. With the support of our board of advisors and the passion of our team and the density of our networks, we feel confident that Project Dharavi can help end open defecation and redefine waste worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you. We would now like to open up to questions.
Great. 2 questions, guys. Very, very impressive. First of all, the community hub, obviously these are densely populated areas,
Right.
but the folks are going to have to take the waste in the containers to the community hubs. Have you thought about kind of transport issues? And then the second question is, how close is there a biogas or a biomass facility to where Dharavi is located?
Okay, to answer the second question, we have identified 3 biogas facilities that we have not made contact with, but are within a 15-minute driving distance of the Dharavi community. So we feel confident, and especially with Sulabh International being active throughout India and especially Mumbai, we feel confident that biogas is readily available in the area.
And as for the first question, so what we will be doing is employing local staff to be doing this whole transportation of the receptacles from the household to the community hub. And using the hand trucks, it should be very easy to go along these streets. And it's also because the hand truck is about this big, and this is like the streets. The narrowest alleyways are about this big, is what we've been told. So they'll be able to navigate those.
And seeing as the density of the settlement is 18,000 people per acre, the distance in which people would have to travel is pretty much negligible. It wouldn't be far at all.
So,
Yes.
I had a question. Effectively, are you helping the families to monetize their waste? Is that a way to look at it?
Yeah.
Because that would be an incentive for
Yes.
social change.
Yes.
Right.
Right. I mean, that would be great.
I was just going to ask, are you personally going to go there and oversee this? And if so, how long do you plan on living there?
So yeah, so we're using the $5,000 that we already have to go this summer. Obviously, we want to go later in the summer to set up a ton of meetings and a ton of face-to-face connection. But we plan on being there a minimum of 3 weeks. And since I'm graduating this semester, I plan on following this project through and doing as much as it takes to make it happen. So if that entails staying there for even longer, then that'll be the case.
We tried to do
Let's see.
an anaerobic digester here for food waste, and the retrofitting and the people we had to bring in was $900,000. So is the government subsidizing the anaerobic digesters there for the biogas people, or
Yes.
This is expensive.
Well, yeah,
It's
there's some that already exist, and then there's a government subsidy on top of that because they're trying to have more sustainable ways as the population is growing to supply the energy to them. So that's why this is a big push currently.
Yeah, so biogas has a 10.3% annual growth rate, and it's the biggest within India. But what's lucky for us is that Sulabh International already has readily accessible anaerobic digesters.
Can you walk me through the product development of your prototype? I mean, it assumes that the world will gravitate towards that particular toilet. So how do you move from a piece of wood
Right.
and maybe some clever design to satisfying what I think are some, I don't know if there are any requirements out there, like a clean cook stove has requirements, but, sharp edges, I mean, all sorts of engineering tests that have to be done for usability. And why would people use them and not throw them away?
Okay, so yeah, this is showing the toilet, and HDPE is about the same material imagine like your child's like basketball net that they play on, but it's like a harder version of that, and that's the one that we're using. And so we'll be field testing it this summer. It was not fiscally responsible to try to make one of them because it's much more expensive. Rather than when you get a bulk order, then the price drops dramatically. And so we will be having like a curved edge right there, so if someone were to walk in it, it wouldn't like cut them or anything like that. So this is something that we will be doing this summer as we go to the households and really see what would they like to see out of this project and what will make them want to use it on a consistent basis.
I'm sorry, have you talked to the UN Foundation? I mean, they did the Clean Cook Stove funding, IDEV, groups like that, and they've developed that pretty far, so there are a bunch of stoves out there proliferated in part because of that. I'm wondering if they don't have an analog, a sister initiative where they, I would imagine this is a big problem set they're looking at. Have you guys talked to them about that? Because
we
it could
have not, no.
But we've,
Sorry.
oh, sorry, you can talk about maybe some other projects though.
So I would encourage you to do it.
Okay,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'd actually, so the Gates Foundation has been doing some really significant investment on this. There's World Toilet Day and the World Toilet Organization and Toilet Hackers and all of those folks.
Reinvent the toilet as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the coolest hackathons I've seen videos from ever. But to that end, who do you see as your competition? Who do you see as potential partners? And who do you want to be organizationally when you grow up?
Okay, so we see the Gates Foundation being like a supplier of like grant money towards us to continue our operations because they have like the same sort of philosophy that the toilet like must be reinvented to work with these low, like these areas of the world that don't have as much GDP as we do.
So what's also important too, so Spark India, which is an advocacy group and for slum dwelling communities throughout India, kind of represents the kind of partners we want to work with, especially this summer, in terms of the product development and making sure this is a usable and something that's adopted at a very high rate. So at the CGIU conference, for example, we made some contact with organizations that, whereas we see the inadequate sanitation options as one of the biggest barriers to this problem being solved, they brought to our attention, and we were already cognizant of it, but the fact that there needs to be almost a very strong educational component to express how culturally ingrained it is, which we understand completely needs to accompany a product, because a product in and of itself will not remedy the problem.
So what is a?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What is a transfer mechanism? What happens with the hand truck? Are they carrying that out, or are they transporting the waste into the hand truck and then to the central location, and then you'd have to truck it to the?
So I'll talk about it in two parts. So we're currently having the handle go up so that there's a flat surface, and they're only able to transport this center part because it would just be too heavy to do the whole thing, at which point with a crank strap they can just tighten it on to a hand truck and then take those to the community hub. And then the biogas to us relationship, it's one that through market research we found that considering we're a feedstock supplier, it's a relationship that you discuss with them. Sometimes they come and get it, and sometimes you're responsible to go to them. So it's something you discuss, and we'll be doing that this summer.
Last question.
I was just going to ask, did I make this up in my mind? At some point in time, was there a long-term view that this would be made there locally?
Absolutely. That's both a very, like, we want it to, one, be endogenous and an Indian product, which that's more of like a symbolic mission, but it's also a very practical one because of shipping costs.
And also shipping from out of country into India it would cost us about like 1.6 times what it would cost to make in the area. So, yeah. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.